Hi there, Dr. Lindsay Mumma here. I am one of the co-ministers of the Borough Ministry for the Fifth Element Free Church, and today's sermon is going to be actually a how-to on making herbal infusions. I learned about these from Susan Weed. I first heard her on a podcast with Guru Jagat, who I took Kundalini yoga classes from her virtually for a number of years, and I was listening to her podcast, and Susan Weed was on there, and I'd heard Susan Weed before. She's like a very well-known herbalist, and when she was talking about drinking these herbal infusions, I sent the podcast to one of my best girlfriends, Lisa, and I was like, hey, do you want to do an experiment with me where we try drinking these, because they sound pretty amazing. So Susan Weed, being an herbalist, obviously has these relationships with the plant spirits, not just like the plants as these kind of like dead things that you drink. So our eternal beloved creator has given us absolutely everything that we need on this planet. And in our hubris, we as humans have decided that we're going to go and make copies of these things that just aren't nearly as beneficial as the original version that our creator has given us. And in so doing, we have ultimately depleted ourselves of the many nutrients that we need, and then plenty of practices like pesticides and herbicides on every lot in every place that you go have further depleted the stores that we as humans need to have. And mineral rich herbal infusions are one of the ways that we can actually replenish those minerals that have been depleted. So I'm a fan of electrolytes in general, and have given this to patients of mine because I'm a chiropractor as well, and recommending that patients take in electrolytes because they have lost electrolytes. We lose electrolytes through our blood, through our urine, through our feces, through our sweat. When I say we lose it through our blood, like we're maneuvering electrolytes, but directly through our sweat, our urine, and our feces, we lose electrolytes from our body. They leave our body. So we need to replenish those. This is nature's way of replenishing those electrolytes. And when I started drinking herbal infusions in 2021, it legitimately changed my life. So I have been recommending them to patients for a variety of things, and I try not to do it in a nutraceutical way, right? So there are herbal support that we can get, but if we're doing a like take this for that, that is a nutraceutical as opposed to a pharmaceutical, right? So like this is therapeutic for this problem thing that you have going on, whereas I actually take herbal infusions as simply like a gift from the earth to my body. And so while there are benefits, so this, what you see here in this jar is helichrysum, and helichrysum is one of the most beneficial pain relieving flowering herbs that exist. And the benefits, right, that for me drinking helichrysum is not to alleviate pain. I'm not in pain. I simply want to honor the spirit of the helichrysum plant and actually like bring that into my body and love it and integrate it and have that be part of me. My water here is almost to its boiling point. And I just want to demonstrate to you how I actually make these herb-rich teas that I drink every single day. So we will take, I'll demonstrate to you how I actually like put the tea together. I just want this to be really applicable. This is one of the ways of connecting with God's creation that I think is like pretty overlooked. We have the opportunity to simply commune with these plants every single day, take a little bit more of our very precious time and kind of sink into the present moment. And in doing so with the plants, I just find it to be so incredibly beneficial. So I have butterfly pea flower here, which these are just absolutely gorgeous. You're going to see what the kind of color change is. And then I also have nettle root here. So the very first herbal infusion that I made was a stinging nettle infusion. And stinging nettles are usually green because we're usually talking about the leaves, but nettle root itself is actually a little bit of like a beigeish color, and it has a more mild flavor than the nettle leaves. Now, in terms of nutraceuticals, stinging nettles, the leaves are really, really beneficial as like a kind of natural antihistamine. So if you've ever touched stinging nettles, you know that they burn and sting quite badly, hence their name. But the nettles themselves are actually really, really helpful for people who have allergies. So this is a nutraceutical application of stinging nettles. But when it comes to just nourishing our body from the earth, nettles themselves are just rich in minerals, and they offer so much like deep hydration. So this is like, it feels like spiritual hydration to me when I drink herbal infusions. I'm gonna demonstrate to you how I originally started. You can see just the size difference here. So this is a quart jar. I prefer the wide mouth to the narrow mouth because it just makes it easier to get the teas out of. And then I'm also going to demonstrate how I make it in the big one. So I no longer measure this anymore, but what you're aiming for is 1 ounce of dried herbs in 32 ounces of recently boiled water. So super hot but not actively boiling because you do not want to break your glass jar. So I now, because I've done this so many times, I just kind of eyeball-ish where 1 ounce is, but a kitchen scale is helpful for this. The nettle root is a little bit heavier, so I usually end up doing about 1.25 cups of the nettle leaves. I end up doing about 3/4 cup of the nettle root if I'm making just a plain infusion of nettle root. And then this water had just recently boiled, and I will just slowly pour it over here in order to make my super rich tea. So I frequently actually say the whole name herbal infusion, and that I don't just say that I'm drinking tea, because Susan Weed was kind of describing, you know, like a tea bag, you have like 1/8 of an ounce, like it's just not very much herb, and you steep it for like 2 to 3 minutes. With these herbal infusions, we are taking our herbs, and so the 2-part lid is better, it's just easier to get off. But these silicone lids, if you can find this, which these were a gift that my mom gave me, but these silicone lids are my favorite. They just kind of slip over the top. This is going to infuse for the next 4 hours minimum. So I'm gonna let all of the minerals come out of these beautiful, beautiful herbs. And then I'm going to chill this, which is what I have done here with the helichrysum. And then after I've chilled it, then I will strain it. So this is, let me see, 8 cups. No, yeah. So this is 4 pints in this one, and that's not all going to fit in here. But a little tip: this actually is a plastic thing that I have from canning. That I reuse here. I don't mind using the plastic on this because it's not hot anymore, this tea here. And then I have just a wire mesh strainer. That helps me from spilling tea over the side whenever I go to put this into my water bottle. And then I'll just uncap this. It is no longer hot, it is chilled. And this will catch my herbs as I fill up my water bottle. And then, there we go. I will strain just the last little bit of this helichrysum out of there. Beautiful. And then this is ready to drink. So good. So helichrysum is a little bit bitter, but it's just absolutely so delicious. Helichrysum, it's kind of an expensive herb, but it is a really good one to start with just for flavor. A lot of people are not super keen on the flavor of stinging nettles. It's just a little bit of an intense flavor. I'm going to compost those herbs. It's just a little bit of an intense flavor. It'll sort of taste like drinking a salad. in not necessarily the best way. So but helichrysum from a taste perspective has a little bit more of like a tea flavor, if that's sort of what you're looking for. But I'm gonna boil a little bit more water, that way I can show you on a bigger scale, but I want you to see the beautiful color change that happens with the butterfly pea flower. And then I will also just demonstrate a couple more of the herbs that I've worked with for the past several years, and that I, in general, just recommend to people to begin forming a relationship, right? All of the plants and animals and birds and fish and creepy crawly critters that are all over this planet we're all here together, and we can just kind of get to know each other. And that's my invitation to you, is God made you this beautiful earth, and how much of it have you actually dove into, and how much of what you've been diving into has been on a screen, and has been electronic, and has been inside of a building that was constructed instead of out in the beautiful world that is. So as soon as I get done with this video, I'm going to close all of my apps, and I'm going to be outside in the beautiful sunshine that exists out there. I had a really beautiful silent retreat, and I got to commune with a bunch of plants, and it was truly incredible. And one of the things that kept coming through for me was God is everywhere, and God is not confined within a screen. God is experienced with all of our senses. And so if all we're doing is looking and listening to a screen, we don't get to feel, we don't get to actually embody that. And our Creator is present with us always, and in us and around us and through us. And if we're fixated on a screen, we're kind of missing out on that experience in a really big way. And so this little ritual that I have on a daily basis is just one small way of me saying thanks. Thank you for this beautiful planet. Thank you for the wonderful things that are here to nourish me and to keep me healthy, and to acknowledge that I'm already whole and I heal from a whole place. That this ritual allows me to remember that every single day. And then when I drink in the richness of each of these different elements, it just truly gives me the gift of like being in touch with that nourishment and the source of the nourishment that we all have within us. So enough preamble. I am gonna boil a little bit more water and then demonstrate a couple of the other herbs. Okay, so while my water is boiling now, our stinging nettle root is going to be steeping for several more hours. I wanted to bring out a couple more of my friends, and I also started another pot of water that I'm boiling so I can make a decoction. So a decoction is a little bit different than an infusion. We don't really need to worry about the semantics of that, but I just wanted to demonstrate that there are other ways of working, and I wanted to introduce you to some of my friends. So I already demonstrated to you the butterfly pea flower. We're going to use that in an infusion. Burdock root and dandelion root are both really great for making a decoction. I will also sometimes add these to an infusion. You really can't do this wrong. You're forming a relationship, so you won't do it wrong. You can look up some herbal contraindications if you need to, like the internet is a helpful tool for that. But dandelion root is a little bit bitter. Burdock root is less bitter. Burdock root tastes like a whole home-cooked warm meal all in one cup. Dandelion root is a little bit more bitter, but both of these are actually very, very beneficial for helping to support our detoxification systems. That's more of a nutraceutical use of these beautiful roots, but these roots are fantastic. Back to the nettle root, there is really decent evidence that backs up the use of nettle root for helping to slow benign prostatic hypertrophy. So that's kind of a cool thing. So drinking nettle root can be really beneficial for prostate health. Okay. One of the most beneficial herbs for women's health in general is vitex berries, or chasteberry is what it's also called. So Vitex, which I don't know, I don't think that that's backwards. I think you can see that correctly, even though it looks backwards to me. Or chasteberry, Chaste. So I will drop just a couple of these into my infusion. Changes the flavor a little bit, and then also just brings a little bit of extra women's health support into it. The same thing with Dong Quai root. That Dong Quai and Vitex are super beneficial for women's health, and very specifically menstrual health, cyclical health, and then as women are entering perimenopause and menopause, also very, very beneficial, those two herbs together. This is the OG right here, stinging nettles. As you can see, different color than what the nettle root is. These are the leaves of it. You can touch these all day and they will not sting you. They only sting when they are on the plant and not dried. And then this is helichrysum, so you got to see what helichrysum looked like after it was cooled. But these flowers are just absolutely gorgeous, bright yellow, fantastic. This is one of my favorites. As you can see, it's just about out here, but this is oat straw. My friends and I wrote a song about oat straw, and it just goes like this. Oat straw is the medicine. Oat straw is the medicine. Because it is. Oat straw is an incredible ally for like just heart opening, kind of like coming home to your body sort of support. So oat straw is the medicine. It is also delicious. It is one of the most delicious herbs that you can have. Hey dude. So as these waters are starting to boil, so this water is just now at boiling point, I'm going to make my Mac Daddy size of oat straw with butterfly pea flower and a sprinkle of chaste tree. So it's really nice when you very first start to simply work with one herb and form a relationship there. Some of the herbs are harder to form a one-on-one relationship with simply because of flavor. Oat straw is an easy one to form a relationship with because it is the medicine, and also because it's just so delicious. Like, it's very, very sweet. It's incredible. I think I mentioned earlier, but I get most of my herbs from Mountain Rose Herbs. I really like the sourcing that they do, and I can get a bunch of organic herbs from there. They just have a beautiful variety and selection. So it's basically the same measurement. So because this is a 64-ounce jar, I'll do 2 ounces of dried herbs to the jar full of water. So when I say a sprinkling of the Vitex or the chaste berry, that's the extent of what I'm putting in here. I'm just gonna sprinkle a couple of those berries in there. Has a very like earthy, almost floral earthy scent to it. And then an even smaller sprinkling of the Dong Quai, which this root looks like that. And I'll just take a little pinch, maybe one more teensy pinch of the Dong Quai. This water is coming to a boil, so I'm about to start my decoction there. Hiya. So the butterfly pea flower is, I just want to demonstrate this to you, and it's PEA. I'm not talking about butterfly urine. I'm talking about butterfly pea, as in like snap peas, those type of legumes. It's this beautiful purpley blue, kind of violet color, and it will turn a very bright color. I don't need I don't need a ton of these. They're a little bit denser than the oat straw is. Okay, this water is now boiling, so I am going to add my herbs there, and we'll come back to the infusion because the decoction is ready to go. So for my decoction, this is just 1 quart of water in here. And so in 1 quart of water, I will do 2 very small fistfuls of whatever root I'm working with. So for this one, I'm doing half dandelion and half burdock root, which is going to make just a really, really delicious kind of warm tea. Decoctions I usually drink warm, and decoctions I only do for 20 minutes. So what I do is I bring, you can see my little fistful there, I will bring water to a boil, add the burdock root and the dandelion, and then I will lower the heat to a simmer and keep it there for 20 minutes. So checking the time, and I will keep that there for 20 minutes. And then all I'm gonna do is strain that and then drink it. And my big size of my, just making sure that's no longer boiling. I do not wish to break my jar. For my big size, this is gonna be the exact same thing, just on a larger scale that I did for the first herbal infusion. So, and just, like, even just being present here with what the smell is, that's our other co-minister. Being here with the smell of the infusion and the decoction, like the presence of this divine gift, and how absolutely fantastic it is to be one with it and partake in it. So right now you can see the color's a little bit greenish. Once the oat straw kind of absorbs the water and we get a little bit more of the butterfly pea, you'll start to see the like transformation of the color here. So a little trick, because when I make these giant sizes, my teapot is not quite big enough. So the water that's still partially in there, I'm just going to heat up with a little bit more. And I do have a sink, and I do have filtered water in my sink. However, I actually drink really, 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 really delicious, wonderful structured water that I get from my office, and I just bring it home in jugs. It's called an Ophora water filter if you're looking for next level hydration situation, which obviously that's what we're talking about in today's sermon. So this water is still very hot. You can actually see the water itself is still steaming a little bit. But now that we're getting a little bit more, you can see the color change in the butterfly pea flower, which as this sits, it will just become a deeper and richer violety blue color, which is just gorgeous. One of the fun things about butterfly pea flower is, so it has this, you know, fantastic purple color, but when it, oh, I don't have a lid right here. I did have a lid, I don't know where it went. If you mix any amount of citrus in with this, you can see how it's purpling already. If you mix any amount of citrus in with this, look at that, it's starting to come down here. That will turn to a pink color instead of purple. So super fun to just like add a squeeze of lemon and then watch the color transformation that happens. It's just really, truly miraculous, the number of gifts that we have in this beautiful creation that we get to live in, and marveling at it in the small ways and the big ways, I think is part of why we get to be here. You know, prayer is important, and being grateful for what we have and all that we've been given. This is a prayerful ritual that I have been so grateful to have in my life for the past 5 years now, and been so grateful to be able to introduce it to so many people. And so I'm glad to be able to share this with you. I hope that you find enjoyment in connecting with these plants, in communing with these plants, in being grateful to these plants for being wonderful teachers to us and being wonderful healers of our bodies. And I hope that as you're forming these, look at just, I mean, it's just so incredible, the fantastic color change that happens there. But I hope that you absorb literally all of the wonderful lessons that these plants can teach us. So I still have 15 more minutes of the decoction simmering here. But the roots are just going to kind of dance around in there for the next 15 minutes, and then I will strain them and I will enjoy that immediately. My 2 infusions need to wait 4 hours. So practically speaking, the way that I do this typically, so at my office, the beautiful water station that I have actually has super hot water that works really, really well for making infusions. So frequently I will make an infusion at home, maybe a small one like this, and then I'll go to the office when I go to see patients, and I will take my, like, I'll already just put the herbs in the cup or in the jar, and I'll take the jar to the office and I'll fill that up there. And then while I'm seeing patients, my herbs are infusing, and then once I'm done seeing patients, then I will put my herbs in the fridge to chill them. Once I've chilled them, which that just depends on how cold your refrigerator is, but usually 30 minutes to an hour before they're like completely cooled, and then strain them, good to go. Very frequently though, I will make an infusion and let it sit overnight even. So it doesn't have to be only 4 hours, but I'll let it infuse overnight and then chill it in the morning and then strain it a little bit later in the day. So they will last in the refrigerator for a couple of days, but they are meant to be made and then to be drunk. So that's part of why this is like a daily ritual for me. This isn't something where like I'm meal prepping at the beginning of the day and then living out through the rest of the week. What I'm actually doing is taking time to be present with these herbs every single day and just giving gratitude to our Creator for offering these gifts and for letting me know about them. You know, I just feel like I have so many friends around me now and I'm so grateful for them. So hopefully you get to make some new friends as a result of this. Thank you so much for joining me for this little sermon tutorial. It's been fun. I mean, this is just what I'm doing on a regular basis. I just got to talk about it this time. So thank you so much. Super appreciate it, and very grateful to have the Burrow Ministry so that we can share this with our community, and incredibly grateful for Fifth Element Free Church for allowing us to be a part of that. So have a beautiful day. Thank you.